requireth nothing but chance, chance, and more chance. This are not thine elder matriarch station.
Hello everyone. Happy Friday. We made it through the week. I hope your Friday is going well and you've got a good start to the weekend. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. You may hear a slightly different set of background noises. I'm trying something with a few more layered effects in there to kind of give it a more complex feel. A lot of people were just hearing the fireplace and their brains were just hearing a rumbling because there was very little to indicate that there was else going on. So it seemed to be very distracting for some people. So hopefully a more complex soundscape that still fits within the idea of the Great Library kind of aesthetic and vibe. Hopefully that helps with maybe some of that confusion, and while still maintaining the feel and the ambiance that I'm going for. We're going to keep working on our Cyber Savage models here. We've basically completed the other two, and now we're working on the third member, and decided to go with orange armor for her. So we want to maintain that kind of Cyber Savage visual aesthetic of bright colors while still being kind of visually complex and allowing for things like highlights and shadows, appropriate highlights and shadows. So there's going to be quite a bit of layering in here, especially since orange is, because there's so much yellow in orange is one of those more difficult colors to get to cover well. So we're just going to keep on rocking with it. Hello! How are you, Dream Big? Welcome on in. I hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. At least it's Friday where I am. I imagine if you're often across the pond over towards Europe or in Aussie land, other areas, that it's tomorrow, but it's still Friday for me. It's great. Excellent. Glad to hear it. You got any big plans for the weekend? I'm gonna go have some dinner with some friends tomorrow that I only get to see once a couple times a year. I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be chilling. My Valentine's Art from the Heart miniature painting competition has begun, so I'm excited. Oh, that's awesome! I don't think I'm familiar with that. I know there's quite a few art competitions on TikTok and things like that, and for some reason I always not sure when they're happening, or it's really hard to be connected with everybody. So can you tell us about your competition? And what's the idea behind it, and give us some lowdown. I've got it where people on multiple platforms will be able to see your message. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine too. I hadn't heard of it, so I was curious. Thought I might give you a little soapbox to talk about it. Hey, Sever, how are you doing? Is it sleeping there or something? I hear like tinging sound. I can't win for losing. It is the soundscape that I have going on. It is a mixture of a fireplace, someone walking around stone halls, and at least one grandfather clock. That is the ticking of a grandfather clock. It's trying a more complex soundscape because people were just hearing the rumbling of the fireplace that I had going before, and they were that wasn't cluing. They weren't sure what it was, so I thought maybe adding a more complex soundscape might make it simpler to hear what it is. But if it sounds like a fire tinging, then or a dryer tinging, then maybe it's not working. I can't make it loud. That's the problem. I can't. It has to be fairly quiet because otherwise it just completely overwhelms and it is too loud for too many people. So I really shouldn't make it any louder. And that would help, but it would also just explode people's eardrums. I think what I'm really missing are the visual cues. Just pure audio cues, it just isn't enough. I think that's probably the biggest issue. I have very few visual cues as to what those sounds are. So people who aren't expecting it, their brains are like, I don't know what's happening, which is nobody's fault. It's my fault for not figuring out the visual cues beyond a fireplace light that isn't very so it is more things for me to think about, more things for me to plan around. Let's see. It's a competition for heart health awareness. Oh, that's cool, Dream Big. It's plenty loud. Yeah, see, it's loud for you, but for other people it's not. Okay, it was like that sounds like fire and then a tinging sound. Yeah, it's because then it gets annoying and overwhelms your conversation. Exactly, Sever, yeah. Embeddis, how are you? Yeah, I think the main thing is that I'm missing visuals. But God, I don't want to set up a green screen. I really don't want to set up a green screen. There's so much more complex lighting that has to happen for a good green screen. Like, it is, you've got to light that thing really, really smoothly. It's got to have good, even light across everything. If you want it to look good. And then if you're not doing things right, then there's a green glow around me, and green screens are it's hard to make those look really good. Oh, it's very nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You have a pinned video on your page? I don't understand. Like, you have a video running behind you, or like, I don't understand. I'm great, love the mini. Have you gotten into Trench Crusade? Speaking of Trench Crusade, now this is a semi-sponsored stream, so I'm going to show this. This is for Cyber Savage, but I did just pick this up today, and these are the new plastics for Trench Crusade. One of the stores in my area has them. Oh, for the contest? Oh, okay, got it. I will check that. I will check that, Dream Big. Thank you. Let me follow back. And then I will look that up after the stream. I'll take a look at your thing there for the competition. So I did just pick up the new plastics for Trench Crusade. I have for the Kickstarter, I have both the Trench Pilgrims, the entire Trench Pilgrim faction, and the entire Heretic Legion faction. I haven't painted those yet. We did. This is one of the guys we painted a few months ago. This is from the Red Brigade from Westphalia Miniatures, and then I've got all the mercenaries from a previous Kickstarter that I painted for Trench Crusade as well. So yeah, I have Trench Crusade stuff, and I need to sit down and really get it going. But Embedis, you asked, tell you about Cyber Savage. Yeah, you can look up Cyber Savage online. They've got a website. They just finished or close to fulfilling their Kickstarter. But it is a small scale skirmish war game centered around converting models and being able to play with just about any model that you have. The aesthetic that they go for, that the art goes for, and they tend to paint is called laser sorcery. So think He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Think Thundercats. Think any of the Hanna-Barbarians. Those old 90s cartoons with lots of bright primary colors and not a whole lot of not a whole lot of really sense when it comes to the setting. There you could have a nuclear powered submarine fighting up against a wizard riding a kraken in the deepest part of the sea. It's that kind of a setting. These are miniatures that they asked me to paint for them. These are the Solar Matriarchs, and let me take you through them. So this one right here, she's equipped with a giant laser cannon or plasma cannon. And you kind of see that I was trying to go with a fairly simple color scheme while still trying to make it look complex. But just like the more simple coloring of those 90s and 80s and even 70s cartoons, tried to keep them, a simple color scheme. So the weapons all red, and I've not done a lot of other colors on there. The armor is mostly one color except for her skin, and then of course you've got she's got her red accents there, and then we've got fun alien colored base. Then we have this one here. She's got a crescent moon pole arm of some sort, and she's got her shield. I did do shading and highlighting on it, but I'm still keeping it fairly straightforward as far as the coloration goes, still trying to harken back to that Masters of the Universe type of look. Did paint her hair. She's got basically decided on two primary colors for them, and those are the colors that fit most things except for the skin, obviously. And now the one we're working on is this one right here. She is equipped. She's orange and purple. She's equipped with a revolver rifle, and so she's that's who we're working on now. And then we also have her, and she's going to be, I think, green. She's going to be green. I haven't decided on a color for the scythe yet. But she's going to be green with either black hair. I think probably black hair. Back here. Long, gorgeous black hair. And yeah. So I'm having a ton of fun with these. They're really cool sculpts. This game was developed by two brothers here in Portland, Oregon. And I got to demo the game at CritCon in October, and then they reached out to me asking if I wanted to paint up some models for them, because we all thought that a local artist with the local game would be really cool. One of the brothers is also the one who sculpted these miniatures. So yeah, there's some pretty cool minis. That set looks great. Yeah, no, they're really cool. So if you're interested in knowing more about the game, you can look up Cyber Savage, and it'll take you to their website. They also have Instagram. They also have YouTube. And right now, you can pledge on their Kickstarter for the late pledge to get a PDF of the rulebook, which I believe is $15, and then they have all of their STLs available, I think, for another 10 or 15. I think I paid all total. I think I paid $25 or $30 to get everything, and so I'm slowly going through the rule book. I'm familiar with how the game plays, but I want to read through the rule book too. The rule book is really straightforward. The gaming system is really straightforward. It's not highly complex. It uses multiple different sizes of dice to determine kind of the strength of an attack or a defense. And then, the attack, when the attacker does their attack, they roll their dice pool and the defender rolls a dice pool for their defense, and they compare dice totals on a 1-to-1 basis. And the one who rolled the highest and matches a higher die against a lower die, they get that success. So it's really interesting how you can have a lot of flexibility with your gaming system that way, and everything doesn't come down to just like one die roll and that determines what happens. You've got some flexibility, you've got some options there. You've got some continuous agency both for the attacker and the defender in combat, which is really cool. It definitely keeps both people pretty engaged. Most of the games that I've played have been about 45 minutes to an hour, and you're generally got 3, maybe 2 to 4 miniatures in your army. So, and you can use really any miniatures you want. So they've done a good job with that. It's a cool mini. Am I ready for Adepticon registration? Yes, Sunday is Adepticon registration. So if you're going to Adepticon, you want to go, get ready to do that Sunday morning. I am teaching 2 different classes at Adepticon this year. I need to put a social media post on a couple different places listing my classes and days. I'm teaching one session of tabletop non-metallic metal, and then 2 sessions of painting healthy, beautiful, healthy, lustrous hair. So those are 2 classes I taught last year, and people seem to enjoy them. And those kind of the tabletop non-metallic metal is a staple class of mine, but the hair class has gone really well the few times that I've taught it, and so I wanted to do that again because I've really enjoyed teaching that class. And then of course there's plenty of other people that are teaching at Adepticon, so make sure you take a look and see what's available, and if you want to take some classes, they are there. No one should ever have to take classes. I do want to point that out. So don't feel like you ever have to take classes. Classes are useful for the people who it fits into their learning style. And frankly, the biggest advantage of classes is the fact that you're there and you're able to get real-time feedback from the teacher. That's the only reason I think you should really take classes, is so that you have that first person feedback, and you're getting direction directly from that person, from the teacher. Most other information you can get out of classes you're going to find on YouTube, you're going to find on Patreon, you're going to find on TikTok. So the big advantage of classes is that in-person instruction. Hey, Engineer Jeff, how are you doing? Did I miss you? Did I miss you before? No. Hey, how are you doing, man? Good to see you. Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Ben and I were watching via YouTube earlier. Oh, that's awesome. Wait a minute. Did I miss you? I did miss you on YouTube. Didn't I? There it is. And I'm so sorry. Yeah, I have a multi-chat up. I'm still getting used to watching out for the YouTube chats, but I can't see it here. I was just looking in the wrong place because I'm used to looking over this way to this chat, which is just Twitch, and not seeing the consolidated one. So I am so sorry, Van. If you're still there, I hope you're doing well. I apologize. I did not see you. I was not trying to ignore you at all. So. Learning, growing pains. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm glad you guys are still hanging out. You guys are still talking. That's awesome. I miss the whole crew. I barely see or talk to anybody. I get to talk to Mario every now and then at a couple conventions when he's able to go for Mats by Mars. But beyond that, I don't really talk to anybody from the old days. But good to see you guys. I hope you're both doing well. They were the days. They were good days. Good old days. Days of making YouTube videos and chatting in the... Was it... Did we have a Ventrilo or did we have a TeamSpeak before Google Hangouts became a thing? I don't remember. But the days of Google Hangouts, hanging out and just chatting. Now most of that kind of stuff happens in Discord. Which I am starting to hang out in Discord during the day in one of the voice channels. So if you're ever interested in just chilling and hobbying, you know, and just hanging out and chatting off a stream or anything like that, if you want to, you're gaming or hobbying or anything, in between meetings, I'm hanging out in my Discord voice channel for a few hours a day now. Otherwise, I'm just gonna get, I'm just gonna rot my brain with YouTube or something like that. I'd rather be talking to people. So if you're interested in that, if anybody's interested in that, keep an eye on our Discord, and we've got a link to the Discord in chat, and then we've got a link to the Discord in my TikTok, LinkedIn, my link tree. You are welcome to hang out there, and we are going to start calling for, works in progress that we can show off and let people show off through the stream, probably on next Friday. How do I keep my brush sharp? That's a great question. So give me just a second here. Let's see. Are there lizardmen in Necromunda or something similar? The closest thing, J Quartz, in Necromunda would be the different types of Gene Stealer cults and possibly Chaos. You could absolutely make a gang of one of the normal gangs and just use the rules for a normal gang, and then use models that are like mutated lizard men or something like that. But there's no official lizard man models or anything like that in Necromunda. The last campaign that I played, one of the guys there did a bunch of Ratmen, basically Skaven, but kind of modified and converted to be a little bit more futuristic. And he used the Cawdor rules for them, and it worked really well. They looked great. It was a ton of fun. So you could absolutely do that, but there's nothing official for not for things like Lizardmen. That's a great question, though. I wish there were more. We keep starting to go to another convention. Life gets in the way. Yeah, no, I totally understand that, Engineer Jeff. Might do Origins this year, though. Origins is a lot of fun. There's a lot of good stuff there. I don't know if I'll be there this year. It's kind of up in the air right now. There's some decision making on the back end of whether or not there's just some decision making on the back end when it comes to the paint intake and whether or not they're gonna be changing things or not. So it's a little up in the air for me. But if I do end up going, it would be awesome to see you guys. But Origins is a good con. There's just not a ton of miniature stuff. It's growing. It's definitely growing. But it's not the biggest program right now. Bro the King, to answer your question, how do I keep my brushes sharp? So the first thing is I either have Kolinsky Sable brushes, and those have some good snap, and they're high quality brushes, so they snap back into shape really easily. Or I'm using synthetic cheap golden Taklon brushes, and these also have very stiff bristles, so they snap back into a point really easily. A lot of other brushes like nylon brushes or squirrel hair or things like that, they're very floppy, so they don't snap back into a point. You have to reshape them every time. So the spring or the snap of the bristles is one thing, so what it's made of. I don't use Citadel brushes because they have almost no spring. I don't like Citadel brushes. There are plenty of people who do. It works for them just fine. I just prefer having a stiffer, snappier bristle that just fits better into the way I paint. The other thing is I am very light when I'm painting. I am not using much pressure when I'm painting at all. So if you could see here, let me zoom in. If you can see here on the leg, I'm just sweeping the tip of the brush across where I want the paint to be, and I'm barely touching the leg. I'm using just enough pressure to kind of flex the tip a little bit and deposit the paint. I'm not pushing almost any pressure on here at all. So that's the other thing. A lot of people will misshape their brush because they are putting too much pressure on just because they haven't developed the muscle control to not do that. So that's something to watch out for. Try to use really light brush strokes. Don't use a lot of pressure when you're painting. Use very light pressure. Because the paint that we use it should be fairly thin, so you should be thinning your paint. So when it's thin, it'll come off the brush very easily because of capillary action. So you don't need to use a lot of pressure. You received your first army on Christmas, dude. That's awesome! Congratulations. What army was it? Hey, The Last Hut. Thank you so much. Why didn't I hear that? Why didn't I hear that go off? Twitch alerts is on. Give me a second. Recent events. Come on. Huh. Oh. Did I do an oopsie doopsie?
Would like to renew
I
their
did do an oopsie doopsie. It's been a while since I've caught one of your streams, so happy Bezos Bucks. Thank you, The Last Hut. I appreciate that. It's the blueberries? Excellent. Hey, people look down on the Ultramarines, the blueberries, but I think they are great. I like the Ultramarines. And as much as you can like, you know, Space Marines in general. Being the awful, awful people they are. And that's the thing with 40k. Everyone is awful. Everyone's a bad guy. Alright, Last Hut, here is your library card. I gotta shield this from the bright light so people can see. So here we go. Here's your library card. Let's get you your stamp. Boom, look at that. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Here you can see the embossing. Beautiful color. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your continued presence. If anybody can't see the stamp, don't worry about it. It just means you haven't like learned any magic. These are magical stamps. Really only wizards and other magic users can see them, or people that are used to being around a lot of magic. Then you'll see it at that point. So just hang around. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, you don't have to support or anything like that to be able to see it. Just hang around. You'll see it eventually. It's a huge army too with a dreadnought. Would have been great to know that I needed super glue. Yeah. And dude, their stats are great too. Yeah, Space Marines, man. Alright, so I'm gonna we've been doing a little bit of glazing here on the thigh and a couple other spots. We're gonna set that down for now. I'm gonna base coat some of her skin, and we're gonna go with dark skin for her. Not hyper dark skin, but we're gonna go with some we're gonna try some like Afro-Caribbean. We'll see how I do. So I am trying to paint each one of these with a slightly different skin tone, just to make them interesting and not like all cookie cutter. That's not fun. If they're going to be all different from one another, then they shouldn't all look the same too, right? That's boring. Now, one thing we're in danger of running into here is with this kind of like this type of skin tone. We are running into the danger of the skin blending into the orange, because this is a warm skin tone with some orange tones to it right now. So we do need to be careful of that. So that means that when we're starting to highlight and put in our base coats and stuff, we need to make sure that we are keeping her skin as distinct as we can from the red armor, just by how we do highlights and how we lay some of these colors down and how we work with it. So we will we'll keep an eye on that and try to make that work. I think maybe her back is just going to be purple because she's got some gaps around her arms that kind of make it look like she's got a shirt on. Although that's also kind of boring. See if we can maybe get some kind of blend, some kind of physical blend there with some sprue goo or something. Wish I had noticed that before. I have to repaint her shoulders at this point. What's everybody working on tonight? What's everybody up to? Anybody doing any hobby or anything? Anybody keeping themselves busy on this beautiful Friday night? Well, I messed up that mix. Not giving myself enough room on my palette to do this well. There we go. I think that's better. Painting a witch burner. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, is that the witch burner general from Trench Crusade, or is that a different type of witch burner? Let's see. Finish up the last model for the Flesh Eater Court Spearhead. Nice. They're doing our Spearhead League starting Sunday, and painted models play better. Yeah, they obviously do. Yeah, 100%. Objectively, painted models roll better. That is indisputable. I made that horse skin, this first highlight way too light. Let's darken that down a little bit. A little better. Try to hit these different muscles here. The muscles aren't super defined here. Mr. Olaf, is this a commission? It is not I mean, it's kind of a commission. I'm not being paid for it. They asked if I wanted to paint some of these models, and I like their game, so I decided I would volunteer to paint some models for them, and it's been a lot of fun. I did ask them if I could stream painting it, though, and they said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That'd be perfectly good. But I don't do commission work. I don't enjoy painting commissions. If it's for a game that I like supporting the game. So, you know, I'll work with a game creator or something like that to maybe paint a model that I really like, or a couple models that I really like. But yeah, I don't enjoy doing commission work, so I just don't do it. Ever play Shadowrun? Yeah, Shadowrun was one of my first RPGs. I'd love for there to be a Shadowrun tabletop game. I have heard rumblings that there is something that might be on the horizon for like a skirmish game, skirmish war game set in tabletop, or set in Shadowrun. But I don't know. I've only heard rumblings. That would be wonderful. I would love to play some Shadowrun on the tabletop. I've recently, my own D&D group, we did try playing 4th edition, and it was just a lot more crunch than we recalled, and a lot more than we were really interested in doing, so that kind of fell through. My group, multiple of them play in multiple games, so nobody really has time to get involved in a really crunchy system. So we just kind of stick with a couple simple systems. Yeah, Shadowrun's fantastic. I love Shadowrun. The world is fantastic. It's a lot of It's great. Yeah, from TC. Excellent. Very cool, Gyarados. Very cool. I'm very new to painting figure. I'm starting my first figure. Is this a commission or is it Franklin Prill? Did you ask a question before? No. Okay. Well, that's awesome, Franklin. What's your first figure, Franklin, if you're still here? We're playing German modded version of 5th edition. We didn't get to really check out 5th edition. How do you feel about it? Are you liking 5th edition? I haven't looked at it very closely, so I don't know a whole lot about it. So I'm curious what somebody who's currently playing it how it feels. Yeah, it's good. The big issue is with the Matrix. Okay. What's going on with the Matrix? And is everything still wireless? Man, that was like, it makes sense why things would be wireless because it's wireless in the real world, and why would you do that? But man, the whole feel of like jacking in using a deck, and you know that was such a huge part of like the vibe, that 80s cyberpunk vibe. But I get why they'd start making things wireless. It's hard to keep it flowing when essentially you have a whole nother playfield. Yeah, I've heard that with the Matrix. It gets pretty complicated. Yeah, growing up, some of my favorite sci-fi novels were Shadowrun novels. Except for, I think it was Technomancer. I set that book down and I immediately forgot most of what happened in that book. I was like, wow. I didn't realize I was not engaged with this book at all. But that's an older book. I think it was called Technomancer. Gotta head out for a bit, for a few minutes. I'll be back. Hey, no worries. No worries. Thanks for chatting while you were here. Hopefully we'll see you later. And if we don't see you later, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So I'm trying to be really delicate with these highlights because dark skin, it's very easy to lose the feeling of dark skin when you're doing highlights like what we normally do. Making them pretty large on most of the muscle groups. The truth is, darker skin, in my understanding, my observation, darker skin has dramatic highlights, but they're small. They're not as diffuse. They don't tend to be as diffuse. They tend to be brighter than what we're expecting, but they tend to be more concentrated because of the natural oiliness and satinness of all human skin. But that extra shine that the skin oils give shows up a lot more on dark skin because it's reflecting more light than it shows on lighter skin, because the reflections blend into that lighter skin a lot more, so they don't appear to be as dramatic. Like here on the face, I'm going, it's ending up too light. I've got too much there, so I need to bring in some of this dark color back in. We'll just use some glazing here in a couple areas where there'd be a little bit more shadow. We're glazing that in. And like right on the apple of the cheek, and then right up here. Try to darken these things down so we're just leaving those brighter highlights in place. Favorite Christopher Nolan movie, and would you make a mini scene of it? Oh, what movies has Christopher Nolan done that I'm thinking of? It's a good question. A good question. He did Batman, didn't he? What else did he do? He's got the Odyssey coming up. That looks interesting. Oh, Interstellar, Dark Knight, Oppenheimer. Let's see, what else we got? Dunkirk. Doing something from Dunkirk would be pretty straightforward. You've got a lot of World War II minis out there, so that'd be. So like maybe a scene where some of the British soldiers are in that rusted out boat on the beach and they're being shot at. That could be pretty dramatic. Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, Dark Knight Rises. Those could be cool. Justice League. Something more interesting. What else have I seen? I almost want to do something. I'd almost want to do something from Interstellar, but man, that would be such a complex piece. Like, it'd be really interesting to make a diorama of the main character on one side, like at the very end of the movie on one side, and then have that wall in between where you paint it all as if he's where he is. Don't want to spoil anything for everybody who hasn't seen it, but where he is, and then viewing into back on Earth, and make it like a two-sided diorama that you can switch back and forth and kind of recreate that scene. That'd be really interesting. I haven't seen Oppenheimer, so I can't really talk about that. Obviously, haven't seen Odyssey yet, but as non-historical as the costumes are, there's some pretty cool costumes. Heath Ledger blowing up the hospital. Oh, yeah. Heath Ledger dressed as the Joker in the maid outfit, or the maid outfit. Oh my God, the nurse outfit. That could be fun. Yeah. Actually, I don't know where it is, but there's a company that makes a Batman miniatures game, and there is a Heath Ledger Joker in that. It's pretty small, but it's like a 28 millimeter mini, so it's about this tall. But he does have it, and I do have that miniature, and I did have an idea of putting him on a base and have like a pile of money behind him all on fire, and have him backlit by the fire, so it's just almost just like a silhouette of him in front of all this fire with like a cast shadow. The problem with that is it would be really interesting, but you'd be ignoring the entire front of the model, because it'd be completely overblown and overexposed, or it'd be overblown by all the light coming from the back. I had also thought about having like a pile of money right in front of him, like a smaller pile of money, and like a bloody pencil, and just different things from the movie. Have those in front of him and have him lit from underneath by the fire. I did think about doing that for a long time, and I just never executed on it. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm not so much of a cinephile that I recognize what movies different directors have done all the time. But that's an interesting question. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to go all the way back on most of this, just darken her face all over again, and then redo the highlights, but much smaller and a lot more controlled, because glazing that darker color back in wasn't working as quickly as I wanted it to. Let's get this in a little bit of medium to make it a little bit more transparent. Yeah, I'm getting some of the darker colors back in here just to make her more, get some more refinement in her skin there. Alright, we got 3 minutes before ads start. When those ads start, we will be taking a break. Don't worry, when the ads go off on the platforms that are getting ads, you will not miss anything, because I won't be painting while those are going. I don't want anybody to miss anything, so we stop while those are running, because we don't get to choose whether or not ads go. They are going to go whether we like it or not. So all I get to do is control when they happen. I don't get to choose that they do or not. Let's start on the bracers here, start working that. Now right now this orange is going to look pretty bright. It's going to look pretty contrasty, but most acrylic paints will fade as they dry. And I've noticed that especially with Monument and a couple other lines, they tend to fade quite a bit while they dry, and that's just something we have to keep in mind. So, when you're putting color down from one of those lines, just keep an eye on it and keep in mind that you are probably going to have to do a couple of layers to get the brightness level up to where you want it to be. Just anticipate that you're going to have to do a few layers. You can see on this arm it's already fading down a little bit. So we'll just wait for that to dry, and then we've got ads start in about 3 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and halt here for now, and then we're going to take our ad break. We'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to get some water. I'm going to use the bathroom, say hi to my cat. I'm going to stand up, walk around so I'm not sedentary all day. So, I recommend that you also walk around, get some water, hydrate yourself. If you're here when we get back, awesome. If you're not, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. But we will be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Took a little longer. My cat was being very clingy. She wanted cuddles. Kausu, how are you doing? I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. Inquisitor Obi, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Romans, good to see you. Hope you're all packed up. Okay. Let's get back into this. We can highlight. Oh, hey! How's it going? Thanks for making my first couple times into Hoodguard's voice chat and his community voice chat entertaining. It was pretty awesome. Appreciate that. For those of you who are not aware, Hoodguard, who if you're on YouTube or Instagram Reels or TikTok, you should be following Hoodguard because he's amazing. But he's got a pretty good sized community on his Discord, and they've got almost a continually going voice chat, and it was a lot of fun. Got to hang out in there and plan on hanging out there some more when I'm not in my own Discord's voice chat, but definitely recommend his community. There's some pretty cool people. Pretty good. What are we painting now? We are painting some solar matriarchs from a game called Cyber Savage, which is a game that was developed here in the Portland, Oregon area. They just almost finished fulfillment of their Kickstarter, and they asked me to paint up some minis for them so they can use them for demo games, but also additional what's the word I'm looking for? Additional, photo fodder, stuff like that. So they gave me a choice of which of the factions I wanted to paint. I was like, I want to paint the Amazon ladies, the Solar Matriarchs. They looked awesome, and I'm having a lot of fun painting her. She's got a giant cannon. The whole idea behind Cyber Savage is the vibe of it is called laser sorcery. So if you think about like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and those types of shows, where you've got people with lasers fighting against muscle-bound dudes with giant magical swords and stuff like that. All of that is in the vibe and the universe for Cyber Savage, and allows you to use miniatures from all different kinds of stuff. And because she's got a giant cannon, I wanted to make sure her back was ripped. I'd like to enhance the muscles on her back a little bit more, but I wanted to make sure she had lats for days because she's got that giant laser cannon. Art, how are you doing? Bonjour. I don't. Je ne parle pas français. But bonjour. This is one of the other ones. She's painted her blonde and purple armor with yellow. We're still trying to have visual complexity in the painting, while still staying fairly bichromatic in a lot of things. So 2 primary colors for these. And then, of course, we've got her that we're working on right now. She's orange and purple. And then we've got one more She is going to be she's going to be green, but I don't know what color her weapon and other things are going to be. I need to think on green and what for that. But yeah, that's what we're working on right now. They're a lot of fun. Okay. Let's see. I need purple. Need some purple. Just some straight up purple. Go. And I'm gonna mix the purple with the dark purple to get a mid purple. So I can start doing some mid-tones. Things like that in some of her armor just to give those more complexity. Here I'm just painting the upper portion of this undersuits, the ribs on these undersuits, because I'm trying to follow the same type of logic that I followed for the highlights. The highlight is up here in front on this side, and then there's another highlight that's here in front on this side. So I'm trying to keep the mid-tone and the highlight on this purple in and towards the center, so it follows the same type of light logic there. We'll see how successful I am. Do you like Warhammer Fantasy? I do like Warhammer Fantasy. I have the Warhammer, all the Warhammer, Total War Warhammer games. I have painted some Warhammer Fantasy, specifically Age of Sigmar, but I have some. I've painted some Old World stuff. I've painted some Mordheim stuff. Warhammer Fantasy is a lot of fun. Whether it's AOS or the Old World, they both have a lot of cool stuff. In fact, I got some of the new Chaos Dwarf models, a couple of the HQs, and I'm in the process of getting them ready to paint up. I've got the stuff in line before them to paint, but who knows? I may just say, nope, I want to paint these now. And I'll start working on them. But I'm very much looking forward to painting those when I do. One of the interesting things about trying to do it's not quite monochromatic because there's obviously multiple colors here, but each piece could be described as kind of monochromatic. Like the gun, I'm not using other colors on the gun. I'm not using anything else. I'm treating the gun as a single color for everything, just because that kind of fits the visual aesthetic for Cyber Savage. And that early, those early 80s and 90s cartoons, like He-Man and stuff like that. The coloration on the animation was very simple. There wasn't a lot of complexity to it, just because they had to obviously animate and draw and animate a ton of these frames every day. So you ended up running into what I assume is they ended up running into technical limitations of like, look, we can't spend all day painting, tons of different materials on these. So one or two colors, then go. One or two colors, then go. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of those animations were fairly straightforward in their coloration, is what I'm assuming. So I'm trying to like lean into that a little bit here as well, keep things simple. But I do want to paint these up to a decent level, so we're still doing highlights, we're still doing shadows and things. We're trying to do bring visual complexity interest in different ways while maintaining a particular vibe or aesthetic. So I'm just trying to think out loud. Maybe give you some insight into why I'm making decisions that I am. I love the Nurgle miniatures. Oh yeah, the Nurgle miniatures are fantastic. I just finished a Kugoth one. Turned out pretty great. Nice, PBJ. That's awesome. Well, if you want, you can either pop over to the Purple app, and if you've got like an Instagram link or something like that, if you want to show it off. And this goes for anybody. If you have anything you want to show off, you can pop over to the Purple chat, or you can jump into the Discord and post there. You know, that's only if you want to. Do not feel like you have to by any means. If you want to show it off, I'd love to see it. But otherwise, if you just want to say, hey man, I painted this, I feel great about it, that's awesome. Do I think Fulgrim was in the Horus Files? Are you kidding me? Absolutely. He's in every set of files that have ever existed. He's in the Epstein files, and he didn't even exist for, you know, another 20,000 years. Wait, we're M2. Horus Heresy had M30. Yeah, like 30,000, almost 27,000 years. He's in the Epstein files. Even though he didn't exist before another almost 30,000 years. He's in every file. It's Fulgrim. All the files. So talented. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's a lot of practice. I am not naturally gifted when it comes to art, and even then, like, it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of like looking at other art, looking at other miniatures, and seeing, oh, that's what that looks like. Okay, because I don't visualize terribly well when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I don't have a clear image in my head of what this looks like when it's done. So I'm constantly working it out as I paint. So it's a lot of trial and error. But I very much appreciate that. I do feel really good about where I am now. I do obviously want to get better, but I really appreciate the compliment. Thank you. It definitely helps with things like the imposter syndrome of like, what am I doing? It's very, very encouraging. You really need to visit Africa? I'd love to. I think that'd be great. Can you bring me up to your live? No, I don't share. I don't share lives when I'm doing this. This is a specific. There's a specific purpose for these lives, and it's not to multi-host. So I apologize. It's not something that we're able to do. Hello, Edu. How are you? Welcome on in. Thank you. Let's get a brighter point of the highlight here. I don't want to go too bright. I don't want to wash out, make the skin too light. I want this to be darker skin. Or at least appear to be darker skin. I think I'm going to have to work on the contrast just a little bit more. Couple spots to build this up. I think the paint is also drying fairly satin, which is often happens with glazing and things like that. So once I hit her with a matte varnish, the highlights are going to show up a lot better because they're not going to be overwhelmed by my studio lights reflecting off of the paint. Awesome figures, bro. I'm practicing to get that good at painting one day. You will make it. Just practice. Paint. The biggest piece of advice that I can say, and I know you didn't ask for any, but I'm just going to put this out for anybody. The biggest thing that you can do to get better is to paint consistently. Paint. If you're not going to paint every day, paint multiple times a week. Every day for like 30 minutes is great, just like practicing the piano, because a lot of painting is muscle control. So it is you building up a certain level of physical conditioning, of controlling your muscles and controlling your brush and all of that. So it's better to paint a little bit every day than a whole bunch, once a week or only twice a week. You will develop a lot faster. You will become a better painter from a technical perspective much faster if you're able to paint multiple times a week. If not, better yet, at least a little bit every day. Beyond that, paint what you enjoy, paint what you want to paint, and because the more you paint, the better you'll get, as long as you're consistent and working at it. And the best way to paint a lot is to paint stuff that you want to paint stuff you enjoy. That's the best way to make sure that you're going to be painting a good amount, is that you are enjoying what you're doing. So make sure you choose things that you like to paint. So that just makes it easier to paint consistently, and that will get you really, really far. And then make sure, you know, as you're painting, find people you trust who are better painters than you, whether that's through an online community Discord like Hood Guards or mine, or really any other that you might find, any other the painters here online or on TikTok or YouTube. A lot of them have communities. Find people you trust who can give you feedback, and you know, work on that feedback, because with a good amount of feedback and, you know, painting fairly consistently, you can improve very, very quickly. For example, Hood Guard, if you haven't seen Hood Guard stuff, he's painting some display stuff right now that's very, very good. He's only been painting for like a year and a half, and he's already painting at like display level, for a certain level of display, which usually takes people a long time to get to because they're not focused on it. He's focused on just painting, so, you know, he's put in the time, he's put in the study, he's talked to people, he's got advice, and he's got feedback from painters who are better than him, which does not include me. He's at this point he's probably better than I am, I think. And then like Walter's Workshop, he's fantastic. There's so many people online who are wonderful people to learn from, but again, the biggest thing is paint consistently. That will grow you very quickly. Stay blessed. I love the Warhammer characters in the books. Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, I like Warhammer a lot. I'm just not painting Warhammer right now because this is for a different game. But yeah, we've got lots of Warhammer stuff we've been painting, and I've got more Warhammer stuff to paint. So I enjoy Warhammer quite a bit. Let's see, am I missing anybody else? Nope. Okay, cool. In fact, here's a couple of Warhammer minis that spent the last little bit painting. There's one. Here's another one. A couple different Space Marines. And I think my favorite out of what I've been painting, what Space Marines I've been painting after a little bit, is this Chibi Marine. I wish they still sold these more consistently. But bought him, stripped the paint off, primed over him, and painted him up too. This was a lot of fun. Well, he's adorable. Painting Warhammer's a lot of fun. Even if the world and the people in the world are awful. It's a world that I would not wish my worst enemy to live in. I wouldn't want anyone to live in the Warhammer world. But I like the books, I like the game, and I like the models. I don't have to like the political system or anything like that. Oh, this purple's looking really cool. The purple going up into pink, man. Or into like plum, which is just a little bit of a more purple pink. I think that looks cool AF. Again, if anybody wants to show off stuff they've been working on, feel free to post that in the purple apps chat, or you can post a link to it in our Discord. I'd love to see what you've been working on, and I do plan on doing on I think it's Wednesdays or Fridays. I gotta decide. Sorry, Tuesdays or Fridays. I gotta decide which one I want to do, but I want to do like a community showcase on a weekly basis. I know a lot of people do that, but I think it's really encouraging for new people and people in the community to kind of show off on what they're working on. And I really enjoy seeing what people are working on. So we're going to do that. Tuesday. My daughter died on New Year's. I'm so sorry. I'd like to live in the Warhammer universe right now just to satisfy my anger. I think that's a reasonable reason. I think that's a reasonable reason. I cannot say I understand because there's no way that I could possibly understand the depth of your pain when it comes to something like that. So I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try and, sugarcoat that at all. I cannot understand that level. There's no possible way for me to understand that without children of my own, which I don't have, but I am so sorry. That is awful. I wish I could say something that was more meaningful. Looks great so far. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dreams Big. Yeah, I'm really liking the way that these particular colors are working out. The purple and the orange work really well. Appreciate it, brother. There's just nothing to make it better. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that there's nothing that can make it better, so I didn't want to cheapen it by trying. But I'm glad you're here. I know it's a horrible time for you, but I'm glad that you're out and about and doing something. This is getting awfully thick. What do you all think about the soundscape that we got going on in my background right now? Is it distracting? Is it too loud? It is something we're trying for the first time tonight. I've switched away to a different set of soundscapes than the one I typically use, but this one's got a lot more going on. Did you notice that it's different? Is it too loud? Is it overwhelming? Too much going on? If you can, just let me know. No, did that already. Okay. Nope. So I think one of the issues that I'm having with the skin is the fact that there's just so much light bouncing off of her skin that I can't really see what's happening. I can't see what is and what is not working there. So we're gonna we're gonna stop with the skin. We're gonna go to her hair. We are gonna paint her hair black because that's gonna fit in with her phenotype a little bit better. And I don't want to do brown. Like, I don't even want to do a dark brown just because she's already got a whole bunch of brownish warm colors that I think having a black for her hair, black hair, will work best there. And I do tend to paint black hair as kind of a cool black, so I used gray blues to highlight it. I think that will do a little bit to help offset some of the warmth. here, which I think would be good. Let's highlight up some of the decorations on the back of her leg as well, just so they don't get lost in everything. Do I ever use an airbrush? I'm looking to buy one. I do. I use an airbrush for vehicles when I paint vehicles or larger mechanical things like that. I use an airbrush for priming small groups of models because I don't want to have to wait for nice weather to be able to do that. So I can prime indoors. I also use it for applying things like varnish to protect finished models if I'm going to be gaming with them. It's just a little bit more of an accessible way than having to use a rattle can all the time and having to worry about making sure the rattle can is warm, that the weather's nice outside, so that it so the paint functions as I'm expecting it to, and it doesn't like cloud up on me or anything like that. Now for more complex uses of the airbrush, I'm not there yet. There's plenty of really nice fancy things that you can do with an airbrush with miniature painting, like blending and undercoating and stuff like that. I'm not there yet, but I will say that I think an airbrush is a good thing to spend some money on if you want to, but it is certainly not necessary. It's just like a wet palette. It is handy, but it's not necessary by any means. And take your time. If you do get one, take your time in learning. Is there one you recommend? Most of my airbrushes are either Badger airbrushes or Iwata. Badger airbrushes, if you're looking for just a workhorse to start out with, the Badger 105 or 105 Extreme are both really good workhorse brushes. I would stick with a 0.3 0.3 nozzle. If you're only going to prime and varnish, then maybe a 0.5 would be fine. But a 0.5 is going to put out a lot of paint or a lot of material, so it might not be great for more delicate work. .3 is pretty standard. When it comes to Awada, if you want to go with Awada instead, they are a U.S.-based company, but all their manufacturing is in Japan. But their headquarters is actually here in Portland, Oregon. That's where their corporate stuff is, and they're really solid as well. They do have some less expensive airbrushes, but what I have is the Awada Eclipse HPCS. That did cost a couple $100, so it is more expensive than the Patriot, but it is also really a solid brush. Love the beard, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. As far as compressors go, I do have a compressor that has a tank that helps smooth out the airflow. I did use just a cheap hobby compressor from Hobby Lobby for a long time, and that was less than $100. I don't know what it is now, but that works just fine. If you want to upgrade your airbrush compressor, then you can go with one that has a tank attached to it. The compressors that I have are called No Name brand, so they don't have any kind of upcharge on them for the name that's associated with them, or with their brand. It's basically straight from their factory, and there's a lot more reasonable. Awesome, thanks for the info. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, airbrushes are a lot of fun. They're very handy. Certainly, again, I want to repeat, not necessary, but awesome. Okay. So, because I'm going to paint some eyes, and I'm in my 40s, I am going to be using my super special glasses here, my magnifiers, to help me paint some eyes. Okay, got the whites of her eyes. Yes, I did try to hold my breath for most of that. Now I'm gonna hit her eyebrows here. One interesting thing about most miniatures is most of them do not have eyebrows molded onto the model. These do. If you look at Games Workshop, almost none of them have eyebrows modeled onto the mini, and very few have them eyebrows painted on. I suppose somewhere in the next 30,000 years, humanity has left eyebrows behind for some reason. But I do find having eyebrows can help the miniature look better. Okay. So here, when I paint eyes, I am not trying to do a dot, because a dot can way too easily leave white up at the top of the eye and at the bottom of the eye, even when it's this small, and that makes the miniature look startled, right? So what I do on miniatures like this is I just paint a black line where I want the pupil to be, and that black line goes from the top of the eye to the bottom, and then I can neaten it up with some skin tone if I mess it up here. But what this does is it avoids having white at the top and the bottom of the eye, so she doesn't look startled. Come on. What is going on with this tip? Let's see if we can see that. So I got her. See how close I can get her. I can get it to focus with light. So there, we got her eyes kind of looking down the same direction as the gun. That's the idea. And she doesn't look startled. That's what we want. Sorry, I keep having to mess with my camera here. Howdy. Hey, Captain Toad, how are you? Howdy, howdy to you. I know you guys probably can't see. I'm probably completely in the shot. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to get these really delicate highlights taken care of. Also trying to neaten up a couple spots that I see that, like, the other highlights went a little cattywampus. Been a rough day, but it's the weekend, so can't complain. How's the painting going? I think the painting's going pretty well. Pretty well. Getting some more work done on these Cyber Savage matriarchs. So here's the one we're working on now, and then we've got this one is one we were working on last time and getting her neatened up. And then we also had the first one we were working on as well. So been having a good time with these. And we got one more to do. She's right here. She's got a scythe. But once she's done, we've got one more to do. Okay, so let's get out some blue black here. I'm sorry to hear you've had a rough day. Sounds like people have had a little rough time of New Year's for at least a few people. But I hope you're able to enjoy your weekend. It's all good, just bad timing of an event, but friends and family are helping. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Luckily, I get to spend the weekend painting. Nice. Okay, so you can see that we've got some of that blue-black down on the tops of the waves of her hair. And we've got it as a bar going across the back of her hair because her hair is at best wavy. So we've got our highlights in the right spot. They're separated out so that there's gaps in between her hair, so we're seeing the individual strands there. So now we're going to take some gray blue and very, very small amounts of this. We're going to hit at the top portion of the arch on her hair. That's where the light's going to reflect off the most. And we're doing top to bottom kind of stripes, but very, very, very small. Very short, because we want short, intense highlights there. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to, because the hair kind of kicks out at the bottom here, we're going to do the same thing at the very bottom where it kicks out from the wave. Let's see, I want to make that a little longer. Yeah, so there's her black hair, mostly done. Nice and simple. Not overly complex. You want it to look glossy. You don't want it to look dry. So if you want to avoid hair looking dry, don't paint every single strand of hair. That painting every single strand of hair just makes it look like straw. You want to paint clusters of hair usually, and then we want to make sure that that your highlights are in the right spot, and that they are following the rules of the rules of light, because each one of these waves, as it waves out, is the side of a cylinder, right? And light reflects in a straight line across the long axis of a cylinder. So if we look here, pretend this ferrule is the curl underneath her hair, and you can see how that light travels along the entire length of the ferrule. And then so this curl that's happening as kicking out from underneath her helmet, this curl is half a cylinder. So you make sure you've got your highlight traveling across that. And same thing down at the bottom. And that gets you with blondish hair, because it's so light, it's going to reflect a lot more light. Oh, ads just started. So we're going to stop. We're going to take a 3-minute break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I appreciate it. Those ads are important to have scheduled so that people don't get ambushed over on the Purple app. It helps avoid pre-rolls, so people joining over there don't get, a whole bunch of ads just as they come into the stream. Just allows me to help them avoid that pain, because it is painful. It is very annoying. see. I need to do better brush management. My tips never look as pristine, always splitting as I paint. Yeah, we've talked about this. I think somebody asked about this before, and I've tried to explain why I think my brush tips stay fairly good. It has to do with the material. You know, this is Golden Taklon, which has got really good snap to it. So just even when it's dry, when you flick it back and forth, it pops back into mostly a point. It does even better when it's damp. But this is a Golden Taklon synthetic, so it's got good snap. These are I believe these are, it's called Pro Sable. This is from Monument Hobbies. I think this is a synthetic Kolinsky, but it also has, just like regular Kolinsky sables, it has a really good snap to it, so it pops back to a point really easily. But the other thing is, when I'm painting, I'm trying to be, I tend to be very delicate with the brush. I'm not pushing hard, and I'm not flicking a bunch. I'm sweeping. I'm trying to sweep, and then I'm being very careful when I'm putting the miniature to the brush. I'm barely touching the miniature, and I'm doing sweeping motions. I'm trying not to flick across details like that, unless I'm like sweeping along the detail. All of those help, I think, maintain the tip of my brush. I also don't overload my brush, so I don't get paint more than halfway down the bristle. And I keep my brush damp so it can reshape really easily. I think all of those things help in keeping your brush from splitting too quickly. But sometimes it's just gonna split. Brushes do be splitting because sometimes they're just not good quality, or something else happens. But there are things you can do to try and help, you know, get it to last as long as you can. But brushes do be splitting. Like I've known people that they've had a Winsor Newton Series 7 for 2 years and it's just as good as new. It's like, I don't understand how that happens. I have to replace even my nice brushes. I got to replace them, you know, every couple of months. So I'm certainly not like the world's best at brush care. And I don't understand using the same brush, how you can use the same brush for years on end. Like, to me, it would just naturally just stop holding together, and it would just naturally fall apart. Okay. I think I flick instead of sweep. I always brush top to bottom in very quick short strokes. Yeah, as long as you're being really top to bottom, there's nothing wrong with that. And as long as you're being delicate, that shouldn't do anything wrong. 'Cause I certainly paint that way from time to time, especially with like the short strokes. But I'm still being really delicate. But I do tend to, when I'm glazing things, I do try to like sweep a little bit. But I definitely switch in between. So, you know, maybe try being a little bit more delicate, because it doesn't take much pressure to get paint off of the brush. But a lot of people just aren't aware of how much pressure they're accidentally using. So who knows? I mean, it's worth a shot, right? See if that makes a difference. Like here, I'm sweeping, but I'm sweeping in short strokes. Here. Trying to get this to glaze a little bit more along this long thigh plate. I just started a new book. It's not a Warhammer book. It's a fantasy book called I think it's called Shrubbly the Monster Adventurer. And it's a lot of fun. It's super adorable, but it's also a lot of fun. Yeah, Shrubbly the Monster Adventurer. So basically, this little shrub monster is raised by a druid, and he's for some reason he's much more intelligent than monsters typically are. And so when the druid passes away, he decides he's going to become an adventurer, and he travels to the nearest adventurers guild and avoids being killed by the adventurers. Him thinking that they're just being super friendly and enthusiastic. He is wise, but he's not terribly smart. But it's been a lot of fun. I like checking out new book series. This one's been pretty good so far. Okay. Before we start winding down, because I am winding down energy-wise. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to talk about before we look at calling it for the night? I think we've made some really good progress with her. I feel really good about it, where she is right now. No? All right. Okay, so what's left on her? The arm bands and her necklace, because on every one of these I'm painting the if there's armbands visible, and the necklace I'm painting those as gold non-metallic metal with a red gem in the center of the necklace and on the armbands if they have an armband. So she's got armbands, so she's going to have gold and then red gems on those, and she's got the necklace that'll be gold and red gemmed as well. And then the ground, obviously, and the sides of her base. I am going to hit her between now and when we paint her again. I'm going to hit her with a gloss varnish just to protect the work we've got now. Then I'm going to hit her with a matte varnish. That way all the shine from the glazed paints is gonna go down, and then I'll be able to see to clarify some of the highlights a little bit better. But yeah, there's just some more refinement work to do with her. I do need to find a good dark lining color for her. It's probably going to be a dark brown or something like that, because there are plenty of details that need to be dark lined so that they stand out properly, just like we did with the other matriarchs. And yeah, I think she's in a fairly good spot right now. This Tuesday, I am doing a birthday stream. I will probably be painting something different. I'm not sure what I'm going to be painting. I don't know. I don't think we're going to do any special events or anything like that, but I'd love for you to come and hang out for the birthday stream. We're just going to, paint for a while. I'm probably going to work on like a Death Watch or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'd love to have you there. Just a celebration of hitting 42 years on this planet. Happy early birthday! Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, next Tuesday's birthday stream. Nothing super special planned, other than just doing it. Yeah. Appreciate y'all being here on this Friday night. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope it's been relaxing. Feel free to check out our Discord if you want feedback on anything, or if you just want to show off what you've been working on, whether it's miniature related or otherwise, or if you just want a place to hang out. Our Discord is open. Love to have you there. Keep an eye on my TikTok and on Instagram for updated pictures of stuff that I've been working on. And we should be back on Tuesday for another live stream. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. Twitch, we are going to raid out to somebody else, so hold on there. I'm going to go ahead and end YouTube and the and TikTok now. And TikTok